thank you. See? All right, your next question, Mr. Ruttenford.
Thank you, Your Honor. Afternoon. Michelle, can you please pull up Exhibit 175, please? Defendant's Exhibit. Mr. Depp, is this an email exchange you had with Bruce Witkin on June 6th, June 7th, 2013?
It's June 7th, 2013.
Okay. And if you scroll down to the bottom, I'm not going to read it aloud, but that email address is your email address. Is that right?
I don't. Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So this email is an email that you sent to Mr. Witkin on June 6th, 2013 at 7:05 a.m., the one that starts with "seriously be woozy." Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And Bruce Witkin was a longtime friend of yours, right?
Yes, sir. Quite a long time.
You met in Florida many years ago, right?
Yes.
And then he lived in Los Angeles, and you all were very close friends until a few years ago, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Your Honor, permission to publish or I'd move for admission of this and permission to publish with the email addresses redacted. And if they want me to redact Mr. Witkin's responses, that's fine.
We have no objection to that, Your Honor, and I don't think we need to have Mr. Witkin's response redacted.
All right, so you just want to have just the identifiers redacted and that's all?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, if we could do that. All right.
Okay, now I know this is a few years before Australia in 2015, which we stopped with right before lunch. But I want to just, if you can scroll down, Michelle, please, to the paragraph that starts, "Brain is on full tilt." And maybe just blow up the first couple sentences there. Okay, yeah, perfect. So in this email to Mr. Witkin in June of 2013, you write to him, "Brain is on full tilt. The circus never stops. Feel physically fucked constantly. I'm wired up so tight that I'm barely able to deal with people on any level that is remotely enjoyable." You see that? Did I read that right?
Yes, I see. Yeah.
Now, Michelle, can you please pull up Exhibit 350, Defendant's Exhibit 350? This is a text exchange that you had with Stephen Deuters, your personal assistant, on March 6th, 2015. So we fast forwarded a couple years. Do you see that?
Is that 1628? Is that the third one down?
Yes, sir. 1628. Third one down. And this is a text that you sent to Mr. Deuters on March 6th, 2015?
Sorry, just reading it. Yes.
And by this point, you had been in Australia since about the week after your wedding, right? So for 3 weeks or so? Is that about right?
Seems right, yes.
Okay. And Amber didn't arrive until around this time, correct? Beginning of March?
Yes, I recall that Amber arrived around the 6th, 7th.
The 6th or 7th of March, right? Okay. So you'd been outside of her presence for the last 3 or 4 weeks prior to this, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Can you, Your Honor, I would move for admission of Defendant's Exhibit 350 with identifiers redacted.
Your Honor, we would ask that the top email to Mr. Holmes and the last email from Mr. Duders be
So
redacted.
just the two in the middle?
Yes.
Sure,
that where
and
Mr.
honestly, Your Honor, then if we're going to do that, we can just redact the, actually, we can redact the second one too, so we just do the third.
Your Honor, we believe that's necessary for context.
Okay, for context, all right, so we'll just get rid of the
Okay.
first one and the last one and the identifiers. So it should be the two middle texts.
Thank you. If you could just,
350 in evidence as redacted. Okay, go ahead.
thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, if you could blow up the email starting with honestly. So this is an email, you've been in pre-production and shooting in Pirates 5 for the last couple of weeks, correct? By March 6, 2015?
What was the question, sorry?
By March 6, 2015, you'd been in pre-production and shooting for Pirates 5 for a couple of weeks in Australia, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So your email to him, to Mr. Duders, your personal assistant, reads, honestly, I will not again be doing anything that involves the discussion of furthering my embarrassment of having whored for all these fucking wasted pieces of shit, nothing, years on characters that I so ignorantly started to think of as my legacy. Every cunting fight, every fucking time, I held my ugliness and rage deeper down and get in check when there was still room in my head to do such a thing. Did I read that right?
You did.
And that's what you're writing to Mr. Duders, having been on the set of Pirates 5 for a couple of weeks, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
The screenplay that I received was not up to snuff, I felt. And so that was part of this, was my anger was that the screenplay was very lazily written, and I had to do a lot of rewriting.
And with you in Australia, I think we covered this, was Debbie Lloyd. You testified to that before lunch, right? Debbie Lloyd was your sobriety nurse, she's supposed to help you stay sober, correct?
She was there to give me meds and
Right. The fact is...
stay on the path.
Okay. The fact is, Mr. Depp, you had been using a fair amount of drugs during those 3 or 4 week period before Miss Heard arrived in Australia, hadn't you?
Marijuana was what I was using.
And not just that, other drugs too, correct?
No, not that I recall, no.
Okay. Let's take a look at Exhibit 346, please. Okay. This is a text message exchange between you and Nathan Holmes on February 25th, 2015. Correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Holmes was another one of your personal assistants, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
He and Stephen Duders were kind of the two main personal assistants during this period of time, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And at the top of the page, the second one down, do you see where Mr. Holmes tells you...
Objection, hearsay.
He just testified that he was only using marijuana, and this is clearly impeachment to that, Your Honor.
This is Mr. Holmes'
Well,
words.
we're gonna go text by text, and before I ask for permission to publish and for motion for admission, we'll go through it. But
I'll sustain as Mr. Holmes. So.
Okay, Mr. Depp, why don't you take a moment to read this text from the top down?
Thank you.
Please.
Okay, yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Depp, does this refresh your recollection that, in fact, you weren't doing just marijuana in late February 2015? In fact, you were doing cocaine that Nathan Holmes was supplying to you?
In fact, there's nothing in there that says I've been doing cocaine.
Does this refresh your recollection, Mr. Depp, that you were given cocaine by Nathan Holmes in late February 2015?
Even if I were given cocaine by Nathan Holmes, there's nothing here that says I was doing the cocaine.
And Nathan Holmes was upset, or you understood that Nathan Holmes thought that you might be upset with him for taking some of your cocaine. Isn't that right?
I think
Objection, Your
that's-
Honor, hearsay and speculation.
Excuse me.
I said, what was his understanding?
I'll sustain as a speculation. Next question.
Okay. And in fact, Mr. Depp, you also were going to see Marilyn Manson in Australia around this time, correct?
Correct. He was coming to play a show in Melbourne.
Okay. Your Honor, I would move for admission of this document with the following text messages. We can redact whatever else they want, although I think, well, the ones that, of the witness's own words that I'd like to show are 80039, 80041, 80086. Those are all words from Mr. Depp. I have a highlighted copy if you'd like me to approach.
Yeah, we have no objection as long as everything else is
You just
redacted.
want to look at his highlighted copy and make sure that's.
Oops, I touched the screen horribly.
No, that
Pardon
was
me.
you. It's okay. You're good.
All set.
Okay. So no objection to the redactions? To
No objection to
346
admitting those with redactions, yes.
Okay, thank you. Get those redactions. All right, 346 in evidence with the redactions. You can publish it.
So you can see these texts were sent on February 26th and February 27th, 2015. And if you scroll over, Michelle, and can you just blow up the text portion of it? You text Mr. Holmes, your personal assistant, have you heard from Manson's Ryan? Now, Ryan was Marilyn Manson's personal assistant, or he worked for him. That's what you understood, correct?
At the time, yes.
Okay. And then you say, yes, and of course, yes, please, and you will pay Ryan for it. 2 exclamation points, 2 question marks. And then you write, disappearer, we should have more happy pills. 3 exclamation points, 2 question marks, can you, followed by 3 exclamation points. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Okay. Can you take that down and please pull up
Although
Exhibit
there were question marks
349?
instead of exclamation points.
And Mr. Depp, this text exchange that I'm going to ask you about is from just 2 days later, after February 26th. On February 28th, it's the last 2 on the page. February 28th, 2015, there's a text from you to Mr. Duders.
I would object to the, as hearsay with respect to the text from Mr. Duders.
That's fine.
Okay, you're just,
So just the second to last one is all we would seek to admit.
okay, if we could do the redactions for just that.
Yes, Your Honor, and we'll happy to redact Mr. Duders' response.
Okay. All right, so 349 in evidence with redactions. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. So in this text message, Mr. Depp sent on February 28th, 2015, you send Mr. Deuters an email, and if you'll remember, what we had just looked at was you reaching out to Mr. Holmes, asking if he had heard from Manson's assistant Ryan, and then saying yes and yes and yes, of course, please pay Ryan for it, and then asking for more happy pills. And in this text message, you say, yay, hello, Master D. I say, I do believe that Ryan, parentheses, Munson's, gave you a wee baggage for me. Where does it reside? X. Did I read that right?
You continue to read them right, yes.
And where it says Munson's, that's a typo and should have said Manson's, correct?
It's a nickname.
Okay. You can take that down. Thank you. So we've gone from February 26th to February 28th. I'd now like to fast forward to March 2nd of that year, 2015. Can you please pull up Exhibit 353? Your Honor, I've, well, let's do it this way. Mr. Depp, these are text messages back and forth from you to your other personal assistant, Nathan Holmes, in March of 2015, correct?
Appears to be, yes, yes.
Your Honor, I know that the whole thing is going to draw an objection, but I would like to move to admit Mr. Depp's text, which I have here highlighted, and I think we can redact pretty quickly through this document. And I'm happy to have them highlighted if you'd like me to approach.
Well, if you could just
Sure.
show it to counsel, the highlighted portions. Is this a one-page document or a
It's actually three.
three-page?
And we may not do all of them now, but I think it's
Okay.
easier to just.
We have no objection with just admitting Mr. Depp's
Okay, so
messages.
353 with the redactions.
Yes, and I think we
Okay.
can, if you'll just indulge us for a minute, I think
right,
we
that's
can get
fine.
all of that done. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so 353 in evidence with redactions. Wait a minute. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Assuming that Ms. Myers agrees with our redactions here.
Make sure.
Can we just see the other pages where the redactions were implemented? Okay. Yes, all
All
set,
right.
thank you.
353 in evidence with the redactions.
Thank you, Your
Published
Honor.
to the jury.
Can you please go to the first page of that document? So, February 26th, February 28th, now we're up to March 2nd. And on March 2nd, a few days before Ms. Hurd arrives in Australia, you text Nathan Holmes, and this is going to take a little bit just to kind of get through this, so appreciate the court and the jury's patience here. But you text him on number 73, and you say, "No, you're not. Why? That is not a part of the job description. And I'm telling you now, any of you guys start to lecture me, I just do not want to hear it. No stupid bullshit about sappy bollocks. I am a grown fucking man, and I will not be judged." Did I read that right?
You did.
Keep going, please. "And I will never, ever live in this world cage any longer. I'll do whatever I damn well please. Okay." Did I read that right?
You did.
Then if we go on to the next page, please. You continue and say, "I don't want to depend on others for things like that. I'm not unhappy. I am insane." Big difference. Did I read that right?
You did.
"No system." Then you say, "I don't want to risk it for you or anyone. So I can get what I need. Also, may I be ecstatic again? Helps. Color me deceased." By ecstatic, you're referring to taking ecstasy, correct?
It's very likely. Before Ms. Hurd arrived, she'd asked me to score either MDMA or ecstasy tablets before her arrival.
Okay. So once again, Ms. Hurd's at fault for these texts.
I'm not blaming her for the text. I'm just stating the facts.
Okay. Well, let's talk about those facts. So,
Okay.
Ms. Hurd arrives in March in 2015. You can go ahead and actually, you know what? Let's go down one, Michelle, because we're going to fast forward a few days and we're going to come back to this. Actually, just one day. This is when you text Mr. I don't even remember if it was Holmes or Deuters at this point. Mr. Holmes, correct? And you text him and you say,
This is
"Yeah,
on
Mr.
the
Holmes."
7th.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we fast forwarded another couple of days, I guess, 5 days, and you say, "Need more Whitey stuff ASAP, brother man, and the e-business, please. I'm in bad shape. Say nothing to nobody." Did I read that right?
You did, sir.
Okay. And I wanted to take a look at that, Mr. Depp, because